Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. We kick off Midway Week number 2. This was voted by the viewership with last check a 65-45 difference between Midway Week and D-Day Week. So Midway Week it is. So we're going to kick it off here with a Airfix kit. This is a 1972 Airfix kit of the PBY-5A Catalina. It's in 1/72nd scale, part of their Series 5 collection. Original issue was in 1964, and it has a kit number of 05007-6 and catalog number of 587. So the Catalina at Midway was a pretty important aircraft. Dawn on June 3rd, 22 PBY-5As of VP-44 went out looking for what was expected to be the Japanese fleet coming to attack Midway. We had kind of a warning thanks to some code breaking, traffic analysis. Had figured out that it was highly likely that the Japanese were going to try to take Midway. So we kind of knew about the direction they were going to come, so we sent these PBYs out to spot the Japanese fleet. So a particular aircraft from VP-44, bureau number 08031, coded 44P-4, was flown by Ensign Jewel Harmon Reed, nicknamed Jack. They sighted the occupation force approximately 700 nautical miles out from Midway shortly before 9 a.m. They sent a coded message back to the island saying sighted main body, bearing 262, 700 miles. Later that day, 6 B-17s were sent out to try to bomb the transports that they came across, and they missed every single one of their bombs. B-17s claimed a few hits, but in actuality they didn't hit anything but fish. During the evening, later that day into the 4th of June, 4 PBYs attempted a night torpedo strike in the early hours of June 4th. One of them was able to hit the oiler Akebono Maru with one torpedo. These were aircraft from VP-24 and VP-51. And this turned out to be the only successful torpedo attack of the entire battle. The U.S. torpedoes were prone to failure, along with their delivery methods weren't necessarily the best. And then finally on 5:30 on June 4th, about 200 miles northwest of Midway, another PBY made first contact with the carrier force. They'd already launched their attack on Midway, and so they'd radio back that they'd found the carriers and that there was an inbound attack coming, which gave Midway Island sufficient warning to get pretty much all the aircraft off the ground, fighter defense up, and some counterattack going out towards the Japanese fleet. So that's a little bit about the PBY's involvement, and let's take a look at the kit. So this is a second release from a 1964 original kit. This is the same artwork that was on the original 64 kit. I was not able to locate the artist, and I do not believe this is a Roy Cross one. Roy Cross did do a box art for later boxing of this kit, but I don't know the artist on this one. If somebody out there does know, definitely let us know. We've got across the top name of the aircraft, 72nd scale. On the side here, got a couple of other aircraft in the series, Series 4, and the Liberator, I think, was also a Series 5. And for best results, use their adhesives, and here's their paint callouts. On this side, we've got a couple others. These from Series 3, a Boston and a Dornier 217. End of the box shows your catalog number, on here, and it being a Series 5. And same thing for this end. So I'll open it up. And we've got our instructions. Put it on a little bit of slick paper. It's kind of yellowed over the years. And this kind of looks like the typical 60s. Instruction sheets from Airfix. Got a fairly extensive history of the aircraft. And some more information about the constant scale of 172. And the kit is made up of 3 assembly steps, and the 4th step being the painting guide. And so we have here assembly of the fuselage. This kit had a lot of moving features, so aside from propellers, it also had moving control surfaces, moving gun turrets. The side observation blisters would actually slide open and close as well too. So quite a bit of action going on here, and a lot of stuff going on just one step. In fact, they've got 29 different assembly points on here. It looks like you do have a instrument panel thing here to cut out and glue in. Step 2 is assembling the outer wings, which includes moving outer floats. And landing gear I don't think the landing gear was retractable on this one. So you could build it with the gear up or down. No, you know what? Maybe it does retract. It's possible. I'd have to look here. When the floats are down, undercarriage should be in retracted position. Not seeing real quick here, but anyway, you may be able to move the gear. And final step here looks like is putting on the weapons, canopy, a few other little bits and bobs. And then here is the paint scheme that's being suggested. It turns out with further research, this paint scheme is inaccurate for the markings that are here. The actual aircraft was all white, did not have the camouflage upper surface. So there you have your instructions. Here's our decals. Not much to them. A couple of RAF roundels, fin flash, and a serial number. So this is actually a real aircraft. It's actually not a PBY, and it's not a Catalina, and it wasn't made by Consolidated. It's actually, this particular aircraft was made by Vickers of Canada, so that makes it a Canso A. The constructor serial number was OCV 425, and it was delivered on 5 June of 1944. The aircraft was delivered straight to storage initially, and then was first issued on July 8th to 160 Squadron, who was based at RCAF Station Torbay in Newfoundland. It was there through to September, and then it was scheduled for transfer to 162 Squadron, but it actually ended up getting transferred to 116 Squadron to October 44. And they were based out of our RCAF Station Sydney in Nova Scotia, and then it ended up going to being stored in reserve on 10 July 45 at Mount Pleasant on Prince Edward Islands. At the time it was put in storage, it only had 463 hours. Then when it was being pulled out of storage, it was converted into a freighter. Spent some time going around for various different RCAF squadrons until it was sent over to the Federal Mine Department in Quebec to be used by the government on 13 June 49. I spent a considerable time with them, the Department of Lands and Forest, and it was coded CF-PQM. In 79, it was re-registered as C-FPQM. And then eventually it was sold off. It was picked up by the Conniff Air Company in '94, who used it as a firebomber along with Buffalo Air in '96. It was purchased by Patrick White in '05 or '06, and then sold to Exploits Valley Air in 2013, who I believe are still using it as a firebomber. So still doing some work. It still exists, and I was able to find a few photographs of it in military service and then a few in its post-war service. So we'll take a look at that now. So in addition to the instructions and the decals, there's also the insert from Airfix about, if you've got missing parts, send something in, get your parts. Yeah, let's look at the plastic here. And so it comes in a plastic bag, which is still sealed. So we are going to cut this open with our trusty X-Acto and see what we got. All right, we'll get some 70s air out of this one. There we go. Okay. So this is typical of the 60s kits from Airfix and most everybody else. There's no surrounding trees. It's usually just a runner down the middle with parts hanging off the side. So tend to get a lot of loose parts floating around inside these boxes and bags. And we'll take a look at our fuselage house. So molded in white, which is appropriate for the aircraft. As it turns out, as I mentioned, that it was actually an all-white painted aircraft. And we've got kind of the typical 60s Airfix design here with the real heavy riveting, kind of thicker molding, of course. Kind of heavy-handed and a lot of concessions to make things workable. So overall, the molding's in not too bad a shape, very little flash. And let's assemble the fuselage halves real quick and see how nice of a fit we got. So not too bad, but definitely going to need a lot of cleanup going on there, but no major gap problems here. Unfortunately, this one isn't warped, but it's not the tightest of seals on here. Kind of a thick, sharp edge along there. And some pretty thick control surfaces. So there's your fuselage. Nothing on the interior other than a few spots to hold parts. So, it's pretty spacious in there for you to do some extra modeling, especially when you got such large openings to be able to see into it. So that would be a pretty good kit to maybe do some detail work on. Let's look at our wing parts here. So it's wings done in 3 main assemblies. So you've got your central part here, and this does appear to be warped. Yeah, that's got a pretty good warpage to it. I think this might be bendable enough. But, yeah, both parts are actually warped pretty good from sitting in here for quite a while. So you'd have to probably either heat these things up, bend them back in place, or put some sort of a stick or something inside there, piece of sheet metal or something, or not sheet metal, sheet plastic through there to try to straighten this central part out. Since it's just sitting on a post, that's not going to help straighten it being assembled, so I have to do something with that. It looks like there is one of these little things on top are bent, and here you've got the spots for weapons, and there's the struts going to the fuselage. There's your outer wing parts, and here's your inner wing part, your central wing part. Here's your outer wing. Same thing again, these are kind of warped up too. Actually, I've got two tops and two bottoms. There we go. Okay, so we do have some flash on these parts. And so there you got where the float folds up, no detail inside here, which I'm sure should have something in there. So there you go with those on your wings, and again, lots of rivets. All right, this sprue has looks like your ailerons, some interior parts, your seats, a gun or two. There's your crew, equipped with oxygen masks, which PBY never really flew high enough to use oxygen. So you need to take those masks off and swap those guys out for something else. The sprue has, looks like depth charge bombs. There's your wing tips. Here's your folding wing tip parts. I think those are gear doors for the front nose wheel. So we do have a bit of flash showing up on these parts as well. We got the other half of the ailerons. And there's our engines. Not a lot of detail on there. We got a gunner guy, again, full high altitude setup. We do have cowl flaps that are open. They're pretty darn thick, but at least there's something on there. You got a ladder. And here's your movable tail parts. I think these are the horizontal stable, or the elevators. The representation for fabric is just simple lines on the surface. You see all these parts have got kind of a warp to them, unfortunately, so you can see what may have happened to this kit. Got a propeller. Propeller's not too bad. There's our horizontal tail planes, heavy riveting again. Here's our tires, some bulkhead parts, and big fat steering wheels. Catalina was almost a ship. And there's some other parts for the tail. I think those are the struts for the wings. What have you. It's another gunner guy. Again, fully equipped for high altitude. And then I think these are a bunch of gun rings for the guns. And one of the landing gear parts. At some point, whoever had this kit before, looks like they put the clear parts in a separate bag. I don't think it came this way. And we'll see how these look. I know Airfix wasn't the best with their clear parts, especially in the 60s. And this is kind of typical of them. Very, very thick, very cloudy, lots of bits and stuff inside the plastic. Scratches and whatnot that don't appear even to be part of the, or that were scratched in molding. I think it's just part of the molding. The blister parts are really strange. It's very faceted. Here's the larger clear piece that this would sit inside. You can see it's got the pins there so you can move it up and down. It's got a little tab there for you to move it. There's your nose gun. So, as is typical with Airfix, these are just barely passable clear parts. So there you have it. Overall, typical kit of its time, of the 60s. It gives a pretty good impression of it. Looks like it's definitely got a lot of play factor as far as the kit itself goes. Accuracy, maybe certainly looks the shape of a Catalina, or can so. But I think there's been quite a bit of concessions to make it an operable kit. But that didn't stop this kit from being issued a bunch of times. And so Airfix, as I mentioned before, originally released this in '64. There was an Airfix America release in 1966 with new decals and artwork. It featured a U.S. Navy marked aircraft, which makes sense for Airfix America's market. '69 Guidai Airfix, or I'm sorry, IDAI, EIDAI, IDAI Airfix of Japan issued it with a completely new box art, same markings, but just very different box art. That was done by a gentleman by the name of Yoshiyuki Takani. There's a 1970 MPC issue with a revised box art, but still of this aircraft here. Then you've got this issue, the '72 one from Airfix. '73 MPC did their profile series featuring multiple markings. '75 got a new issue from Airfix with the revised Roy Cross artwork, which surprisingly was only used once. Unlike a lot of Roy Cross stuff, which is used repeatedly over and over and over, the Catalina only was used once with Roy Cross artwork. In '79, U.S. Airfix released their version with a photo box of a post-war all-navy blue aircraft. 1980, Airfix released a Black Cat with new artwork on it. '87, Airfix did a photo box version with this kit built up with the incorrect artwork on it, or paint job on it, I should say. '87, Airfix Gunze in Japan did their issue of that same photo box. '91, Airfix did a revised box art of the first issue artwork, which is this one here. Same thing in '93, is almost identical box, but it had the little air hours things you could cut out and send in. '94, Airfix did a new artwork for a Black Cat version. And then 2008, another one with completely new artwork. And in 2013, yet another issue with completely different artwork. So this kit has been around quite a bit and has been reissued many times. So it should be fairly easy to find out there in various different guises if you would like to build one of these. I don't think there's really been much change in the kit itself, just some changes in the decals and what came with it. So that's about it for this kit. Hope you enjoyed seeing it. If you've built one of these, tell us about it in the comments section. And if you have one sitting on your shelf, absolutely take a picture of it, send it in to us. The email address is in the channel description. So this is a kickoff again for Midway week number 2, and hope to see you back for the rest of Midway week. Thanks for watching, and have yourself a great rest of your day.